And a huge part of this role, and it's why it's so good to be here with you, Helia, Jack, and Amir, is to hear the voices of children, young people, families who have been on the receiving end of social work, and to make sure that your views shape the review from the very beginning. So this is the first thing I'm doing as chair, and this is the first conversation I'm having. So it's great to be with you. Helia, can I start with you and ask, very often we talk about the power of relationships in this work, and I think the word can be used so often that adults lose sight of what it actually means. For you, what are the qualities that adults show when they're doing this work relationally really well?
Just let me know if I understand the question. You mean, what's the most important thing between a professional and a young person, in my opinion?
Exactly. So to build that trust, what are the qualities that matter most?
So you said it yourself. The most important factor, the base factor, is trust. So trying to building that up is by being honest with the young person, as well as being realistic, because a lot of times professionals forget their limitations or what they can actually offer, and they might promise you something. For example, this assignment will be done by the end of the week, but the reality is it won't be, because you have other young people that you need to support, and you don't know what type of emergencies might come up. So for me, it's actually being honest with the young person, having genuine conversations, and saying, when do you, for example, need that assignment for? And if the young person said tomorrow, then it's emergency. But if it's within a month, maybe you can, delay that for another 2 weeks and let the young person know, listen, like, I have other young people that I need to support. If this can wait, and if you can understand where I'm coming from, because a lot of times we trying to help young people, a lot of time we're trying to offer to do our best, but the reality is time limitation. The reality is the case load of work that you have. So having genuine conversations and being honest of what you can offer and what you can do is the most important one, and as well as being realistic. And us young people, especially vulnerable, considered as vulnerable young people, we need a special looking after plans. So being honest can play a big fact of trying to build trust with that young person, because that young person hasn't had that trust relationship maybe in the past, or with the family, or even with schools or teachers. So, and Jamie's farm had played that factor as well a lot, by having honest conversations, having genuine conversation on what they can offer. So
thank you. So you want people to commit and deliver, and do say what they can actually do. Thank you. Jack, over to you. We've not met before, but I've heard you're a very confident young man, is what I've been told by Jake. And I know that you credit your Jamie's Farm experience quite a bit with how you've developed yourself, to the extent now that you're actually working as part of the farm team, and are working with other children. So can you share a little bit with us what it was about that experience at the farm that was so important for your journey?
Well, thank you for the compliment to start off with, and I've also heard from Jake that you're fantastic as well. So it's brilliant.
Mutual admiration.
For me, obviously it starts with family. For a lot of people that come to the farm, they don't understand what a family is, because they never got that opportunity to understand family. They don't get to necessarily build close relationships. They don't get to understand what it is when you're being told, don't do this, don't do that, and please do this, please do that, and the reasonings behind it. We're trying to be as fair as we possibly can at Jamie's Farm, and with that, what I personally valued most, or maybe it's two, reflection. Every day we're doing simple reflections, how we're feeling, rate it out of 10. It's very, very basic stuff. And a lot of people who know about Jamie's Farm, that's the number one thing they hear about. The reason why that's the number one thing they hear about is because it's so important to forget about what's going on in this world and just think, me as an individual, I'm feeling, it's been a long day. I'm probably feeling a 3 out of 10. A lot of things have been going wrong and I'm getting annoyed with this and I'm messing up in this area. Now I know that. Now I know that I've messed up in that area. Now that I know I was being a bit mean to that person, or just simple little reflections. You don't always notice everything you're doing, but now you know that, and now you can carry on into your next steps in life and think, oh, yeah, I do get a bit angry with my at someone at Jamie's Farm or someone at school simply, and maybe I need to just maybe tone that down a bit because that makes me feel a bit upset. So those simple reflections, and then with that, the shout outs. And that's what we do in each meeting. We do a check-in, go around the table, how everybody's feeling, and then a shout out. Or a shout out is when we on the farm we see an individual who's doing really well, and we want to go, Josh, you've been amazing. I'm so impressed with how great you were at cleaning out the pigs. You really got in it. How gross it was, but you didn't care. That was amazing. And before you get to that moment, you're counting down and you see that it's about to be your turn to speak, a bit like this, to be honest. You get that little bit of nerves, a little bit of excitement. And then once you've done that, once you've given that compliment, and that person who receives the compliment is like, oh my, I'm doing really well. I'm doing things right. This is amazing, feeling great. And then once the person who said that is like, oh, all the stress is let out. I feel so relaxed after every shout out. And then little relationship is built there from that simple compliment. And if everybody's giving a compliment in a meeting, that's a lot of lovely things to say about people. And then that creates that further family dynamic where, and I'm kind of cheating here because I do work on the farm. I've just been off doing a session. I probably still have I think I have a bit of mud there on my face from a session. Sorry, we've got someone coming in. Wait a sec. Lester, don't come, please. Lester, I'm doing it. Lester, no.
It's a live in action moment with Jack.
Live in action. We're living it. Sorry, what? Could you just tell me what
I think
last said?
Yeah, no, we definitely got that. And I think the way you described creating those almost those small moments, building the relationship up, is really powerful. Because you've been both at Jamie's Farm as a young person and also work there now. You've been on, if you like, both sides of the stable door. What is it you think that professionals most often get wrong when they're working with young people in this space? Are there sort of themes or patterns that you've noticed?
Well, it's very easy to just go and complain and say, oh, they do all these things wrong. We do a lot of things are being done right. And that's great and that's fantastic. But for me, what I've noticed is, especially from this week, you kind of want to be this loving, caring dictator that controls the whole situation, and you make sure that everything is going well and that they have got their Wellington boots on at this time, and it's all so precise and they don't get any chance to fail because you've catched them before they get that chance to fail. And yeah, that can be seen as some level of kindness and to some degree, depending on what the failure is. If the failure is being run over by a tractor, definitely get in the way and save that. But if it's a simple one, like you haven't necessarily done something correct with your overalls, so the overalls are going to get muddy, I might not always say about that. Sometimes I will, and sometimes they won't listen. And then I'll go, okay, you didn't listen. You're going to learn from that. We go into the session, we get muddy, and they learn. And I've learned most of my great ideas, in my opinion, from all my terrible failures. And that's what. And then that child who did do that, who messed up their overalls, today, boom, wrapped them up, ready, suited and booted, because they managed to have that level of failure, and then understand, okay, I'll change this, and then it all works out.
Yeah.
So
brilliant. Failing well.
So just simple things, just giving people opportunity to be themselves, being free. Like sometimes I know one time I came to the farm, I get to come to the farm quite a lot, and I was really lucky for that. And I know I probably was a bit annoying or a bit mean, and I'm not proud about that, but I wasn't necessarily crushed and told you're a terrible person because you were a bit mean.
Yeah.
You got to be yourself. You're probably being mean because you're feeling a bit sad, a bit alone, and that you're attacking other people because of your upset. We understand that at Jamie's farm, and we're trying to let them understand that for themselves, and let them fail and let them make the mistakes, and then they can make the right decisions later on. And we're trying to support them the whole time. We're trying to control the situation safely, but not being these controlling dictators.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. That's really clear. Great answer. Amir, over to you. I think you've heard a bit about what my job is going to be in the next year or so. If you had a blank piece of paper and we were starting again with the whole of children's social care, what would you do? What would you start to write on it?
I would just write in big words as a title that every kid is different. And it's not just about writing it down. It's just making sure that kid knows that. The kid just doesn't feel like, oh, I'm just another kid in the system. There's going to be a decision made on. The reason I'm saying as a title, because whenever you write that as a title, every time you're going to make a decision, you're going to be like, oh, I need to think about that. Before any actions, you will think about that again. And also giving like kids more opportunities, especially teenage years, because you're just trying to find yourself. You're just trying to find out what you want to do. And a lot of times you don't get as much opportunities as other kids probably. And sometimes even though like you might find out like, oh, like this person knows that they know what they want to do. They don't need like try something different. Giving them that chance to try something different might just confirm that, oh, I'm really good at this. Or you might just bring up, oh, I'm really passionate about something else. Like, especially for myself, I found out finding that passion, finding that something to do made everything else that was happening around me in the teenage life so much easier, because it just got me focused on what I wanted to do. And yeah, that's what I would want to focus on, just giving them.
They're big things, and if I was going to start anywhere, they'd be great. They'd be great places to start. Amir, would you mind sharing with people? This is not such an intimate forum, but I know that you're comfortable to share some of your experiences with us of living as a teenager in semi-independent living, and if there's anything from that experience that it's important for me to know about when I'm doing the review.
So the semi-independent I was in, I could just say it wasn't the best, and it was kind of a mixed bag. So before you just say anything, just consider that. It was the staff were nice. Some of them were nicer, but I always struggled to have that build that sort of relationships with the staff. I would have like some sort of key workers for like in daytime, like up to 6 o'clock. And it was always a struggle to have the like relationship. And I think I had a relationship, like some sort of friendship with the security guard, one of the security guards, which was quite nice. We were just always talking about football. That's all you do. It's quite nice, but I always try to just go there to sleep. I just try to stay at my mates, stay at school, just try my best, just not to get there. And at the time, it felt like I would say a prison cell that I would have to go in at night, just make sure I get there. Something was surprising for me. It was accommodation for all males, but we did not have one key worker who was a male. So that was surprising for me. And also we interacted with a lot, like the security guards a lot, which sometimes some of the security guards, you would think they need some sort of training to deal with younger people who are more vulnerable. And I think that's about all the experience.
Yeah, thank you. No, go on.
I made good friends, but I don't think I would go back to that place for another 2 years.
Yeah, it's an area where we need to do a lot better for people. So your experience is not alone, unfortunately. Helia, can I go back to you and just ask you to wrap up for us this particular session, because I know you're volunteering with your local council and you've had a chance, I think, to ask a few of the looked after children who are in that area what they think should be changed about the system. So can you give us sort of rapid fire ideas that they came up with?
Yeah, first, before I start to answer the question, I just want to thank Amir and Jack for their beautiful answers. And me and Amir, we always do volunteerings at Hillingdon Council. And we have different groups of ages. So between 7 to 11, they want their first foster carer to be the right one, because they get attached to the foster carer quite quickly. So if they have to change, that's heartbreaking for them. Lesser social workers, because we had cases that the young person had 11 social workers to have, which is an entire football team. Be more fun. So if you're having a meeting with a young person, you need to make expression, you need to smell good, you need to be entertaining, don't be boring and ask repeated questions, and actually read the cases of the young people before you meet them. Then it goes between 11 to 16-ish. So they are saying that they don't want to repeat themselves in the meetings. Is quite frustrating for them to be having to have the same conversations and not getting enough results. And being more aware of their entitlements, of what they actually are eligible for, which is part of their pathway plan. And when you come to be a bit more adult, so when you are considered as a care leaver, to have more accessibility to better housing, because that is the biggest problem for people like myself. So, and as well as being more prepared for independent living. So, for example, I thought I was prepared to go and be independent and being an independent woman, but the reality is you need to be more prepared. You need to have people around you that can support you and say, it's okay if what you chose didn't go the way you wanted. Let's choose this one, to actually have support for independent living, and not, especially in this time of COVID time, pandemic, not being lonely and feeling lonely. So actually having the support from professionals. It doesn't necessarily need to be a social worker or a care leaver. Care leavers, a personal advisor. It can actually be a teacher that you worked with, Jamie's Farms staff members, or from a virtual school, from your education, from anywhere that you can actually rely on, you actually can have a conversation with.
Yeah, brilliant. Wow, thank you. Well, I think I could probably skip the next 13 months now. And
I was going to say,
yeah, thank you so much.
How much wisdom could we condense into 20 minutes? I think you've got most of what you need there. Can I just say a huge thank you to Jack, who's I think had to drop off. Somebody's probably interrupted his internet, and to Amir and Helia. We can't applaud you because we're online. We would if we could, but I don't know if you can read the comments in the chat channel, but people have been applauding you digitally and describing you as legends. So I just have to say thank you so much for your time, and Josh, thank you for letting us listen into your not entirely private conversation.